Good morning, students. So today we are in the second session of our biology revision of lesson number 6, life processes. So today students we will study about the function of the kidney. Now kidney is the excretory organ in case of human beings, and the excretory product in case of human being is urea. Now urea is thrown out of the body in the form of urine. Urea is thrown out of the body in the form of urine. Now where is the urine formed? Now the urine is formed in the nephron. And what is the nephron? Nephron is a structural and functional unit of a kidney. The structural and functional unit of a kidney is called as a nephron, and the urine formation takes place in the nephron, and a kidney has million number of nephrons, and in this million number of nephrons urine is continuously formed, and all that urine is collected and it is brought to the ureter, and from the ureter it will pass on to the urinary bladder, and from the urinary bladder it will be expelled out through the opening which is called as the urethra. Now students, we will do one thing, we will study the formation of urine here. Now students, in the formation of urine there are three steps which are involved. One is called as filtration. But filtration means you are filtering your blood. The blood is coming with waste, so you have to filter the blood. Okay, and that filtration is taking place under high pressure. Since the filtration is taking place under high pressure, it is called as ultrafiltration. Then the second steps you have is the selective reabsorption, and the third step you have is called as a tubular secretion. Okay, so we will discuss in detail about all these three different steps. First one, we will start with ultrafiltration. Now what is ultrafiltration? Ultrafiltration is nothing but the filtration of the blood. So here students, you can see the blood is carrying the nitrogenous waste, and the blood is coming into a network of capillaries. This network of capillaries is called as the glomerulus. So the blood is coming into a network of capillaries which is called as the glomerulus. Now in the glomerulus, the blood is going to be filtered. So when the blood is going to be filtered, what will happen? All the waste is going to come out into the nephron. But along with the waste, sometimes some useful substances like glucose and amino acid will also enter into the nephron. So where is the filtration taking place? It is taking place here. From there, what is happening? Can you see the red color arrow? From this, the red color arrow, the whatever filtered substance is there, it is entering into the tubule. It is entering into the tubule. Okay, so you can see the urine is entering into the tubule here. And what is the filtrate containing? It is containing glucose, it is containing amino acids, salts, water and urea. Now urea is your nitrogenous waste. Okay, but it is containing useful substances like what? Glucose and amino acid. Now, glucose and amino acid are important for our body. So, can we afford to lose them? No, we cannot afford to lose them. So, as the filtrate is moving ahead, you can see that surrounding the tubule, what is present? Blood vessels are present. So, what is the tubule going to do? Whatever useful substances there, those substances will be passed on to the blood. The tubule will select those substances which are useful for our body, and it will pass it into the blood. This process is called as selective reabsorption. This process is called as selective reabsorption. Because of the process of selective reabsorption, the volume of the urine is going to decrease, because we are going to take something from that filtrate. It is a filtrate which is going to form the urine. We are taking something from the filtrate. So what will happen to the volume? The volume will decrease. So for selective reabsorption, which is taking place in the tubular part of the nephron, so here all glucose, amino acids and salt and most water is reabsorbed into the blood. What is not reabsorbed is the urea, because urea is our nitrogenous waste. It is the one which we have to expel out. Okay, so we have completed two steps. One is filtration and the other is selective reabsorption. Now after ultrafiltration and selective reabsorption, now let us go to the third process, and in the third process, that is nothing but your tubular secretion. So now let us see the tubular secretion here. Now students, as I told you, now when the blood is getting filtered, urea, amino acid, glucose, water, salt, all the substances are going to get filtered. But sometimes at the time of ultrafiltration, some nitrogenous waste like that of urea can escape from the process of ultrafiltration. So if it escapes from the process of ultrafiltration, it will remain in our body. If it remains in our body, then it is harmful because it is a waste. We cannot store the waste in the body. So what does the blood vessels do? The blood vessel will collect all the nitrogenous waste which have escaped from the process of ultrafiltration, and it will finally add it to the filtrate here. You can see the filtrate is coming here. As I told you that as I told you, the red arrows are indicating your filtrate. So the filtrate is coming here. So when the filtrate is coming here and it is going to be thrown out, at that time it will add the nitrogenous waste which has escaped from the process of ultrafiltration. So we will not allow anything to escape. Something escapes also, we will catch hold of that and we will put it there. Now what urine is formed is a final urine, and it is a final urine which will be transported to the ureters, and from the ureters it will be transported to the urinary bladder, and from the urinary bladder it will be urinary bladder to the urethra, and through the urethra it will be expelled out. Okay, so there are 3 steps for the process of urine formation. Okay, so as I told you, the 3 steps. First is filtration. That filtration is also called as ultrafiltration because it is taking place under high pressure. So the filtration takes place in the glomerulus. Selective reabsorption takes in the tubular part of the nephron, and tubular secretion also takes place in the tubular part of nephron. So these are the 3 steps in the process of urine formation. So I hope you have understood the process of urine formation. Now what are the functions of the kidney? The kidney will help in throwing away, expelling out your nitrogenous waste, that is urea. Correct. At the same, now the urea is thrown out of the human body in which form? In a liquid form. So liquid form means it is going to contain water. So since it contains water, the kidney is responsible for maintaining the salt and water balance of the body. So these are the 2 functions of the kidney, and this is a method in which the urine is formed, which is containing the nitrogenous waste urea. Okay, and the structural and functional unit of the kidney is the nephron. It is in the nephron that filtration of the blood takes place for the formation of urine. Okay, yeah. Now let us go to the next part. Okay, now in the next part, what is hypertension? So to understand hypertension, we have to understand what is blood pressure. What is blood pressure? The pressure asserted by the blood by moving through the blood vessel is called as what? Blood pressure. Okay. Now blood pressure is of 2 types. For every human being there are 2 blood pressure. One is called as the systolic blood pressure and the other is a diastolic blood pressure. Now systolic blood pressure is the blood pressure when the heart undergoes contraction. Systole means contraction. Okay, whereas the diastolic blood pressure is the blood pressure which we get when the heart undergoes relaxation. When the heart undergoes relaxation. So every human being has got 2 blood pressure. One is the systolic pressure and the other is a diastolic pressure. Now the normal systolic pressure, I tell you the normal value. The normal value of the systolic pressure is less than 120 and less than 80. So it is often written as 120 by 80 is considered as normal. Okay, but sometimes due to the dietary habit means taking in a large amount of oily substance and fat and the different type of lifestyle leading to diabetes, the person may have a high blood pressure. And what is the high blood pressure called as? The high blood pressure is called as hypertension. What is hypertension? High blood pressure is called as hypertension. So if your systolic blood pressure reaches 140 and systolic blood pressure is reaching 90, then you are a person who suffers from hypertension or high blood pressure. If it goes beyond 140 and becomes 180 and 80 becomes 120, then it is highly dangerous. Okay, it may result in paralytic attacks. So this is your hypertension. Hypertension means high blood pressure. I hope you have understood hypertension, systolic blood pressure, diastolic blood pressure and normal value of the blood pressure. Now what is the word opposite to hypertension? The word opposite to hypertension is hypotension. That is nothing but low blood pressure. So the blood pressure will be below 120 and 80. So normal blood pressure, hypotension and hypertension. Hypo means low blood pressure and hyper means high blood pressure. Okay. So students, now let's try some assertion and reason today. Yes. Now for the assertion and reason today, here I have an assertion. The length of the small intestine differs in various animals depending upon the food they eat. What is assertion? It is a statement, correct? So statement appears to be correct, no? The length of the small intestine differs in various animals depending upon the food they eat. You know that students, the herbivores have got a very long small intestine because they feed upon the raw material and the raw material contains cellulose. So to digest the cellulose, it should have a long small intestine. So your assertion is 100% correct. Okay. Now let's go to the next part, that is the reason part. The reason they are saying is lions and tigers have long small intestine. Why should they have long small intestine? Your lions and tigers are carnivores animal. Where are they going to feed upon cellulose? They are not going to eat cellulose. They don't need to digest cellulose. So they don't need a long small intestine. Correct or not? They usually show the presence of a short small intestine. So the reason is wrong. So your assertion is correct and the reason is wrong. Correct? So now let us try to find out the options. A option. Both A and R are true. No. For us in this condition, A is true and R is false. So A option is not correct. So ignore that. Next. Both A and R are true. Correct. So again you have to ignore that because for us A is true and R is false. C option you see. A is true and R is false. So it is matching with what we are saying, that assertion is correct and our reason is wrong. Correct or not? So A is true and R is false is the correct answer here. C is the correct answer here. D says that A is false but R is true, just the reverse. But we know that R is true and A is true and R is false. So C option is the correct answer here. Okay, is it clear students? Now let's move to the next slide. Now in the next slide, here they say that assertion. What does assertion says? Assertion says hemoglobin is a respiratory pigment in human. Do you agree? Yes. In the previous session, I had told you that by simple diffusion, it is very difficult for the oxygen to reach from the lungs to the toes. And I told you thanks to the respiratory pigment, that is hemoglobin, which is present in the human being. So hemoglobin is a respiratory pigment in human beings is 100% correct. Now, so assertion is true. Now let's go to the reason. Reason says hemoglobin is found in the human RBC. No, it doesn't appear like a reason, correct? It again appears like a statement. Yeah, hemoglobin is found in the human RBC. That is correct. Yeah. So both of them are true. But our reason is not supporting our assertion. Our reason is not an answer for our assertion. So let us see here. Yeah, first option says both A and R are true and R is the correct explanation of A. No, R is not the correct explanation. R is also a statement. It is not an explanation of our A. Now let us come to B. Both A and R are true and R is not the correct explanation of A. Okay, so now this would be our correct one. So our answer here is B. Now let's see the next one. A is true but R is false. No, for us both the statements are true. A is false and R is, no, that I cannot take C and D because both our statements are very correct. But the problem here is the reason is not the correct answer for our assertion. Both of them appears to be a statement. So our B option is the correct one. Is this clear for assertion and reason now? Yeah. Now students, let us go to the next. So here I have a picture diagram. So the picture will be given and we will tell you to identify the labeled part. So here I have told you to identify the labeled parts as parts labeled as C and D. You have to identify the part labeled as C and D. What would be the part labeled as C and this is D? The C is the larynx and the D is the trachea. The C is the larynx and D is the trachea. So we have identified it. So we have identified the parts labeled as C and D. Now let us go to the next diagram. Now identify the parts labeled as 2 and 10. So let us see now 2 and 10. Okay, so here this is your 2, correct, and this is your 10. 2 is esophagus and 10 is the liver. 2 is the esophagus here, you can see this is the esophagus and 10 is the liver. So we have identified the labeled part either as it will be given as A, B, C, D, or it will be given as what 1, 2, 3, 4. So you have to identify the part. Okay. Now let us go to the next one. Here identify the process. So what process is going on? The process is respiration. Okay. But the option will be given like this. Identify the process. A, inhalation and B, exhalation. Correct. Now, so here you can see the ribs are moving out. Correct. The lungs have undergone expansion. The diaphragm is moving down. So here lungs have undergone expansion means it is filled with air. Area of the thoracic region is increasing here. So this is the given picture or the given process is that of inhalation. Is a process of inhalation, that is taking in air. So the lungs are undergoing expansion. Okay. Here you can see this is just the opposite one. The lungs are get smaller. Here the ribs are moving backward. You can see the diaphragm moves upward. So this process is exhalation, that is going away the foul air. So this picture which is there, this is exhalation and the previous one was inhalation. So like this we may ask you to identify the process which is going on. We can give you a plan and show all the raw materials there and we'll tell you what is the process which is going on. So it is photosynthesis which is going on. Okay, or else we may give you a plan and we will give you the equation of respiration and we will tell you identify the process. So you should know that what equation it is, that it is an equation for respiration. So you say the process involved here is respiration which is taking place in the plant. So options you have to mark, options will be given to you. You don't have to type anything. Okay, so that's all for today. So we have solved all the different type of questions. MCQ we have solved, assertion and reason we have solved, the picture questions also we have solved. Okay, so thank you.